the olive root, the fisherman's route, and along the harbors, the salt beds as one of the major economy productions that we had on the Mediterranean, the salt beds. I even, during my visit reaching Faro in Portugal, our partners, they give lots of significance to the salt beds as well. So in this smart ways, this is in our Smart Ways Lebanon. If you go on the webpage for the LCF Kardahi Foundation webpage, the headquarters for the Phoenician route, you can find and learn that the Phoenician route is the foundation of all cultural heritage routes, not only within the Institute of Cultural Roots of Europe, that we are members of it, and I highly respect, but it's really beyond that. It is the Smart Ways for the Phoenician route is the foundation for all of the other cultures, the Roman, the Byzantine, the Umayyad, the olive route, the Silk route. So anywhere we are investigating, if you take one of these Smart Ways routes, you will have the chance to experiment and taste olive oil, taste amazing wine, have very precious salt, like you can visit one of the convents along the coast of Lebanon. They give you the salt as, it's like a sacred in a little bag, to take back home with you, like with a candle. So this is something not only of economic gesture, but it's something very sacred, very social, So what we are doing today is what we have been doing in the past. We are really reviving the cultural, economic, agricultural values. This is why we have this Mediterranean Universities Network, European network. We have over 100 members along the Mediterranean. Members, I'm talking municipalities, NGOs, and universities. They are members of the route and very active. Let me tell you something. Being here for 2 days, I think there is a great potential for Malta to play, to become the future interactive landscape for the Phoenician culture. I'm saying this not to make it sound music to your ears, but this is the reality of the fact that you are an interactive cultural landscape on your own. I really enjoy every minute that I'm spending here. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your wonderful presentations. I enjoyed all of them. I was thinking that this is the kind of project with its many partners and its many voices, even contradictory voices, because life is about contradiction all the time. This is the kind of project which offers a different narrative. And it's a great project, and there are similar projects happening in different areas of the Mediterranean that kind of highlight the past of the Mediterranean, the present, and also proposes futures for the Mediterranean. And also the Mediterranean as a microcosm of the world, because the issues of climate change, of irregular migration, of cultural hegemony, of language, globalization that Nureddin was talking about right at the beginning, or hinted at right at the beginning. I think the issue, however, is that despite these projects, which are so important and which we're so proud to be part of, we are essentially losing the battle of narratives, in the sense that when we talk about the Mediterranean, we always talk about conflict, about the very tragic situation of migration, and we are essentially failing to impose different narratives, the kind of narratives that we're hearing this evening. So it is a question of representation, and it's a very important question of representation. So I think our big challenge is to continue to understand our past, our various pasts, the various narratives of our past. To understand our present, and also to have the privilege and to allow ourselves the right to create, to imagine, to propose possible futures where we can disagree with each other but still live together, where different languages can exist, even if they're spoken only by 400,000 people. We, I think, have to work harder, all of us together, as we're doing in this project, to create other narratives, even if they contradict each other. I think this is the big battle, which I think at the moment we're losing in the Mediterranean, because it's dominated, mainstream narratives about the Mediterranean are dominated by only some issues. So I think this is our big challenge, to be very creative and also to be very proud and critical also of our past, present, and to propose other futures.
Beautiful.
To link to what Adrian just mentioned about representation and about the last presentation actually. I was once in Jordan on the shores of the Dead Sea, and I was speaking to some people, and they were curious about how is life on an island in the sea, in Bahar Labir. And it gave me the feeling that the relationship to the sea, the Great Sea, is very similar to how we could imagine, our imagination about the ocean, outside. It's like going back to this idea that, in a way, the Greeks had of the exotic. As soon as you start traveling, you start meeting these strange people, different cultures, but really exotic. And there is a lot of play on fantasy. From Hercules to Homer, you find this kind of travel along the shores of the Mediterranean Sea as a journey of discovery of the many others actually. So I think this question of representation, it needs to really be opened up again, and rather than using representation as a way of either confirming, give us confidence, confirming what we already think we know, or confirming our suspicions about the other. It needs to be liberated again, and give a bit of a free rein to fantasy, to imagination. So representation as a creative effort rather than as a political project to identify who we are and who got it. Just a comment.
And if you allow me, should I just talk like this or use the mic? There is two elements that I found interesting. Like we're talking about narratives and how today it is important to kind of not invent but rewrite new narratives. I want to add another thing, which is what does it mean, the periphery of Mediterranean, how the periphery of Mediterranean is important, and it's somehow a form of hope or maybe hopelessness in somehow, but how today is important to create a new bridge. Let's look at each other, people that were out of this modern history of based on colonization and actors of the big, we all know these countries, and then how it's important to create this not dialogue but more gathering between, for example, Morocco, Malta, Tunisia, Malta, and then again this idea of it is important the local narratives, how local narratives today, how this is important to break this crisis of representation, this crisis of characters that we all see in TVs, in communication, characters of without narratives. And I think it's important, this point of rewriting new narratives is somehow important. And again, it's related to the past, because rewriting is also how we look to the past. For example, how important today we can rewrite and rethink and read. I'm interested into the idea of visibility of Walter Benjamin. He said once that reading the history is not, it's about reading what doesn't exist yet. And he was giving the example of this women taking the heart of the sheep and putting it in the sky and start to read the future from it. And I think this could be an interesting way how to, in terms of archaeology, how to create a future in the past, or how to create new futures in the past. I want to just add one point related to this idea of like characters without narratives, or this kind of problem about seeing the strangers or an immigrant as ghosts that is today hunting Europe. This is it's a bit it's a form of plagia of the text of Marx saying that kind of Marxism is hunting Europe. Then the union, like the states, reunite to go against, and this is what happened some time ago. That we have the crisis, what we call crisis of immigrants, and then European Union decided to kind of close and stop this, and this is important to address it, like this form of ontology, the ghost that finally all these people that we for decades and centuries in terms of history of art, we represent in this painting, in this door, we represent the others as barbers. Today, they are out in this form of ghost that is hunting. Ghost because we are afraid. Because ghost is someone that doesn't have a face, someone that doesn't have a narrative. So I want to close this.
Are there any more questions, any more reactions? I would like to go back a little bit to Adrian's point. Also from someone working in NGOs for a while. And I think sometimes I wonder if we as NGOs, I'm putting myself into this, if we simplify matters. And so kind of, the desire is to live in peace, to be inclusive, to live in harmony. That's kind of what we're working towards, That's what we dream. This kind of the utopia we want to create. And somehow, particularly at the moment, kind of the reality is kind of quite the opposite. And even in the context of migration, sometimes I wonder if we kind of, we produce the glossy pictures, the beautiful pictures, the food, the people meeting each other and being happy with each other. But I wonder how much those images and those narratives that we produce address the thorny questions. And I do think that there are thorny questions that we need to find a way how to engage with, because those thorny questions are hijacked by the so-called far right, and they speak to people. I think we need to find a way how to speak to those questions, open up the discussion about those questions, and then somehow find a way. And I also think that, I must admit I have a bit of a problem when people say, we live peacefully together and we manage. I have questions there, how much we really manage to do that, because I think that people manage to live peacefully together, yes, manage for a certain period of time, But then when something happens, kind of the reality emerges. And that's where conflict and sometimes violent conflict takes place. And we've seen these in countries where you had, for example, families who were intermarried interreligiously and everything was very peaceful. And at the point of war, those same family members were butchering each other. And I do think, I don't want to bring it down to religion or theology, but I do think that being a person of faith or being a person of non-faith, I think we need to engage with the religious narrative, particularly the monotheistic narratives. And how we have images, I like the fact that most of you used images, and I like the holy images of non-violence and the holy images of violence. And I really believe that some of the root of the problems that we are dealing with are there. That we have sacred violence, we have a belief that there are forms of violence which are divine, which are mandated by God, which are legitimate. And Christians, Muslims and Jews, all of them have that belief. And I think, for me personally, there is one of the roots, if it's not the root, of a lot of the violent conflict that we have. Of course there's power, of course there's oil, of course there's, political interests, of course there's ideas of empire. But I think some of these beliefs are important too. And that's where I think we should engage with. Is there a divine mandate for one person to kill another?
Look, you are shifting us to another level of conflict, which I always consider, I'm here for conflict resolution. I consider myself a conflict resolutionist. Let me share something with you. After September 11, since we lost this beautiful 2 towers in the Manhattan, in the Trinity area, I was invited to give a lecture in Washington, D.C. for a cultural platform. And at the time, I took with me all these head molds that was presenting here. I had them in a bag. And I was talking to the people, considering me a tourist and or sometimes a terrorist, depending on the head mold that I'm wearing. Because now, if I change my head molds, I have this wonderful, Italian hat, European thing, and sometimes I have a kafia, sometimes I have, a soft hat like this, which is more Phoenician, thing, or like a Turkish tarbush red thing. And I go walk on the street with these different head molds. People would read me differently. We are a walking, living culture. But the most important thing is to read the other and go to bed. Go and share your pillow with all these head molds. And then the next day, when you see an Indian on the road, or an Arabian, or an American, or a Mexican, or an English with their own head molds, you start seeing behind the head mold, because really, I think we should stop justifying and defining people according to the way they look. It's really the spirit. We are here, and I said at the beginning of my speech, I consider myself here on a mission, not on a project. We are missionaries. And we are cultural missionaries, and we are here for conflict resolution. I hope that every child in the European continent, every parent, would bring their children to the cultural and city landscape of Malta, because I really discovered a warm and wonderful hospitality out there on the streets, where you feel like in peace and in justice. You are there. You are like anybody else, and nobody is like monitoring you. We need our cities and our urban landscape to become landscape for humanity. At the time, 40 years ago, living in the States, the examiner told me when I was issued as an American passport, she offered me to change my name from Rashid to Richard. And I told her, and my wife was sitting with me at the time, we were applied as a family, and I told her, do I look like a Richard to you? and if I come to you and tell you I am Richard from Lebanon, do you believe me? So really the issue is here. It's changing the names of people and or ignoring the way they look or disrespecting the way they look. It's really would damage humanity. We are here, we are human beings. We came to this world naked. And you know what? We leave naked.
Yes, I have a comment.
Yes.
Immigration 150 years ago was the other way around. It was from Europe to all other parts of the world. Even if you want to reflect on the Islamic or Ottoman Empire, there were a natural expanding of a country, which is even in any city, you will see the city grows and take more geographical regions with it. But when I see the reaction on Europe for other immigrants in general, it's a natural reaction for what happened in Palestine, what happened in the USA, what happened in Australia, what happened in America. It's a very natural reaction because when all the Indian Americans vanish almost, and when Palestinians are suffering in identifying if I am from this country or I am from the country that I hold its passport. So when you see natural suffering, it's in the subconscious. You don't want to be part of the suffering. You want to protect yourself, your borders, even if you already have participated in a huge way in that dilemma or that problem. So I see it as a natural reaction from all nations. And they are like you in the buffer zone, keeping peace all around.
There's one comment here, right?
I have a question about, I've been following both the Phoenician route and the Initial for the last years, but this is my first time that I found time to come here. My question is that, from what is happening, how is this initiative going to reach the people who are illiterate, people who really never arrive to such meetings? Are there any plans to reach those people? Because a difference can be made in our world if we reach even those people, because knowledge is power, ignorance, it's on the opposite side.
Yes, I said before, Richard. It's a discovery for me. Our goal is to create a dialogue everywhere, because it's the only way we have to develop ourselves and the place where we are. So the dialogue, it means not only to listen to people, but also to present to the people some proposals so they can discuss better what we can do. I am very proud, for example, of our activity with the schools. We are the only one, Cultural Roots and the Council of Europe, that have a network of schools. We organize for them, when we can, a exchange of schools and people, twins of schools from all around the Mediterranean. There are more than 60 now. I hope that the Maltese schools can adhere now. And it's very interesting when they can, sometimes they organize travels, we call it intercultural travels, not school tourism. They go in a place, the local school present by the students the heritage, then they return at home with the other school and they present the opposite place. And sometimes they sleep at home, not in the hotel. I remember a travel from European students that go in Tunisia when we was in the airport of Carthage, and the student said to me, "Professor," they call me professor, "the father of my friend said the same words of my father." Because it's incredible for them to think that a Muslim or another civilization people can think the same. We say that we are not B2B, business to business, but P2P, people to people. We want to speak to the people, we want to discuss with the people, because the people know what is important in life. The family, the friends, the work, the honor, all the value that we have that are shared between all the civilization of the Mediterranean in the ancient time and now. We have the result of this stratification of culture. So it's very important that we highlight this idea, that we highlight the idea that everyone have to be their idea. In this moment we are in the top of the communication, but effectively our communication is not free. We have the image that the other want that we have. So I suggested to the student, please have your idea before. Because when you go to vote, you decide my future. I wanted you understand what happened at this moment in the world, what it means to be migrants. How many Maltese we have in the world? How many Sicilian, how many Spanish? My family, my surname is Barone. Barone is probably Norman origin, Bara, warriors. My mother is Ingracia, it means Garcia, so I'm a mix of civilization, Norman and Spanish, that are in the same period, but in the place of Sicily was together. So we are everywhere. We can find our mix of civilization, and we are the best result of this one. So migration is not is a value, it's not a problem. The problem is when we don't think that this situation can change our world. The problem is that at this moment we haven't a reflection about the future of our world, because we can stop. It's impossible to stop the movement of the people. I think, for example, China people that are most part of the population of the world, we can say that in 100 years we haven't the European model. We will be with the many colors, with the many forms, but this is our richness. The problem is which earth we can have. This is the problem that we have to solve now. We are in delay. The politics, I think, don't think to solve this problem, and they create only walls, mental walls, to have the agreement of the people or to share some ideas. But effectively, as you say, it's impossible to say stop the migration, because it's just to take the water of the sea with a glass. So in this moment...
Yeah, but if I may say something with what you're saying, like here in Malta, like for example, we have a culture. It's our culture, but because of the recent immigration or the recent ideas that European Union is adopting, like in religious, like for example, of religious signs in public. Like for example, we had a tradition in Malta to have the cross in the classrooms. But because of these recent developments, now we don't have them anymore. We're not supposed to put a cross in the classroom, because there are other religions, children from other religions taking lessons in our classrooms. So I think that was part of our culture, which we have lost. So in a way, immigration can be a threat as well, and not only...
I have a solution, look out. But the problem is that we have to ask ourselves which can be the solution, because my daughter was for 3 years in Venice. In the class of my daughter, there are only 2 Italians. She would come from Sicily, another from Calabria. There aren't of the place, because there aren't childs. So most part of the class was from China, from Africa, from everywhere. And she said that there was very educated pupils.
She said what?
That the pupils, the colleague, the student of the class was very educated.
Very educated.
When she returned in Sicily, said it was better in Venice with the people that come from foreign countries. So it's not the color of the people. The problem is to understand how we can protect our identity. Because when we have a lot of people of another religion, for example, of course they ask to do their life in our place.
Why should we change our culture?
We have to see. We have to see.
And
we have to.
There's one more question.
Yes.
I take the last 2 questions and we start.
Just a comment, a positive comment. I think the key lies in appreciation of the other culture. What comes to mind is Federico II of Sicily's Stupor Mundi, He wasn't called Supermundi for nothing. He was brought up in Palermo in a culture where he took on Greek culture, Arabic culture, and he was fascinated. He would write in Arabic, he would speak in Arabic, he would dress Arabic. And because it's a culture he learned to appreciate besides his own as a Christian king. And this is what I think he teaches us, these characters from the past teach us, that it is in our capability, our educational capability, like that's what he had, to learn and appreciate the other.
Yes, but there is something, like what my dear lady said here. In the facing all the political empowerment in the world and feeling human with refugees and immigrations, this is really wonderful. This makes us better human beings. But what is dangerous in this phenomena is the empowerment of states. They make us change our names to blend in societies. I have a friend of mine since we were in school, elementary schools in Lebanon, that I met in the States, and I met him 30 years later. His name Muhammad al-Rimh, Muhammad al-Rimh in Lebanon. In the States, his name became Michael Rome. Michael Rome, and so they changed their name to change their approach, to change their qualities. Nothing should stop me from putting the cross in the classroom, in spite of all my respect to the local jurisdictions and the state, with all my respect to all the other religions in the world. I have a cross in the room. It should remain in the room. I do not remove the cross. I may add something else to the room, but not remove the cross. Because the cross is the structural component of humanity in that room, and this is why we are here for. It's really, we should respect, and the empowerment of states should respect our socio-religious and socio-ethnic backgrounds. And this is why in my paper today, over this tensile line, this tense line of cultural proximities, I see myself stretched over this tensile line, but to remain tolerant like the Phoenicians did. They were never warriors, and they never built ships for war like the Greeks did, but they built them for communication and for dissemination of information and knowledge among society. We are here together on a Phoenician mission, not on a warrior mission.
I'm taking one last question or comment, and then I'm going to ask the panel to pass final comments and conclude. Thank you.
Just a simple remark that I want to make, that I believe that in order to unite its own Mediterranean, we don't need to let our missionalism state sort of start rising, because if we do, like Mario mentioned the far right, and we start looking back at our roots, we're never going to be united. Now we all think about a globalized nation, we're in post-nationalistic state. So in my opinion, we need to reconstruct an idea, a sort of an identity of a Mediterranean, where we are all in that, we are all enveloped in that identity that we need to look sort of not with nostalgia and we restore them to restore our past, but in a reflective way. We need to see what happened and what was viable and what helped the Mediterranean move, and not focus on like violence and wars, but recently I'm reading about the Ottoman Empire, where the Levant was still an area which was founded, for everyone. So why couldn't it happen now? If like 100 years ago, there were no borders and everyone lived together. We can't do anything about what happened in the past, but we can choose the things which united us and reflect on our present and have a new constructed identity which I guess the Mediterranean basin that would be united.
Thank you. I want to thank very much everyone. I'm going to ask the panelists to conclude. I start with Azama.
I agree that Mediterranean never have been in peace. This is the storytelling. It's a war. It's a sea of war. But in the same time, as Carla said, it's give us benefits. It's not just war, but it give us benefits. To resolve the problem, it's really the communication, the dialogue. This is knowing each other. That I tested by myself. Of course, we had a lot of wars and the immigration and everything. We are in very difficult situation now. It's incredible that it's happening in this time that I can understand in the Middle Age. But what's happening now is so dangerous, and it's more and more become north and south. And the southern part, it hasn't a big responsibility, because who guiding the war is the northern part. They are deciding for them. They decided for our future, but the future of the people of the north. I don't want to enter in that, but always the work that people want dialogue, it's the most important thing. As Carla said, the bridge always the first place it become bombarded in the war. For that, people that making bridges, they are always, because it's very easy to be Muslim or to be Christian. Define, I am from this side and you are from that side. It's so easy, but it's very difficult when you are in the middle. You respect this and you respect this. These people, they say, why he with us? And they are not trusting with you. And the other people, they are saying, this is bad man, and this is our role in this life.
To take a little the provocation about religion and being in Jerusalem since almost 20 years, in a place where it's a place of religion, so it should have been the most peaceful place in the world, and in fact it's the most violent place in the world maybe. And being near the Christian, because I visit the Holy Sepulchre where there are 6 Christians confessions which are struggling for each square centimeter of the church, is clear that it's difficult to talk about peace when you are not able even to organize yourself in a church. But what I always say when people come inside the church and say what scandal is to see priests and nuns hit each other to control this peace, I always say you are right. There is violence. There is this is the human nature to be selfish and to want to possess. Don't think about the day of the year where these 6 confessions of the Christians are struggling to possess a part. Think of the other 364 days of the year where they found coexistence, because this exists. In this period, yes, there is violence, but peaceful moment, coexistence in the time and in the space has always been a majority. We just need to continue to believe that this is possible. Coexistence is not only possible, but it's absolutely a must. And we are here just to say this. It was possible, it is possible, it will be the only way to live. This is what I think.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
add, overlap another comment on what he said, and I'm super thankful for that, because I don't think that the solution, like we're talking about peace or how to meet peace by reinforcing the identity, because even today the big problem of we know rights wing in Europe, but also reactionaries like in more in the south, because coming back to identity doesn't split us, it doesn't reunite us. And what could unite us is the common struggle. If I am here because what bring me here because I have a struggle with decolonizing, with reacting with this past heritage, or the heritage of the past that is heavily also affecting our everyday action. And I think what could be not the solution, but what could be the common space would be the common struggle. If today we have a problem with immigrants, we still even the other people that want to help them, we are still in the humanitarian love. Look at these people; they are humans, and we should love them because they are humans, and etc. But this doesn't resolve the problem. This is just to say that maybe reading the painting that I showed between Antiochus and Hercules. Maybe if we see that the struggle is our common thing, struggling for the land or for the food every day, we could transform this wrestling to a hug. And yeah, thank you.
You know, I love animals too. I mean, love is one way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
But to develop perception, human perception, is even more important.
Mm-hmm.
To start seeing inside of you,
mm-hmm.
not to see you, to see things around you.
Mm-hmm.
We must see things in depth.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is something important in my life because He saw inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
He did not evaluate me the way I looked, but He evaluated me and He took me along with Him because He saw inside of me. Since I met you over Skype,
mm-hmm.
I saw you inside of you, and I felt very comfortable and very serene and very happy. And I was looking forward to be your partner, sitting in this wonderful city and talking about peace, talking about conflict resolution within the context of, this big image that Kirsten was trying to bring us for. But anyhow, I leave to our founding director of the Phoenician route to conclude, and I thank you very much. I stop talking.
Well, I'm very happy that because this is the demonstration to this evening that how a cultural route can create a debate, can create a reflection, can help everyone to understand more about ourselves and the world where we are. So if the cultural route can contribute in this way, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. Okay. But to close my intervention, I want to thank Iniziamed, Heritage Malta, all the partners of this meeting to give us this opportunity, because it was very interesting to meet you, to discuss with you, and to open a new way for the future of our collaboration in Malta. So I'm very happy, and thanks a lot for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.